Okay, I think it's time for us to start this 8th rendezvous meeting of our Urban Farm Student Challenge. Today we are talking about economics and how to develop the economic part of your projects for the challenge you're about to access. And I would kind of like to introduce to PhD student Silvia Russo. Dr. Silvia Russo, if you please can open your camera and your mic so you can present yourself to the students and the participants.
Good morning, I am Silvia Russo. I am a PhD student at the Department of Agricultural Sciences and at the University of Bologna. And if you want, I can start with my presentation and tell me.
Yes, sure, Silvia.
Sorry, I have a problem with my connection, and I think that during the presentation I turn off my camera. If I don't know if it is a problem for you.
No, it's okay, as long as we can see your slides, that would be perfect.
Yes.
So today we will start with the presentation of Dr. Silvia Russo, and I think later Professor Alessandra Castellini will join us and share some considerations with us. So please, Silvia, the floor is yours. Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Good morning. I am Silvia Russo, a PhD student at the Department of Agricultural Sciences at the University of Bologna, and today I present the business model canvas. But first, I think that it is better to introduce you the business model concept from which the business model canvas was developed. In the last years, many researchers have studied and tried to give a definition of the business model concept, and the most widely used definition is the one given by Osterwalder, who states that a business model describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. In the same year, Baden, Fuller, and Morgan stated that a role of business models is to provide a set of generic level descriptors of how the firm organizes itself to create and distribute value in a profitable manner. In general, we can say that the business model are useful tools for describing and distinguishing the various business behaviors that can be found in companies all over the world and that can be examples to adapt to. When a business is defined, it is necessary to consider the elements that constitute it, but also to arrange and combine them in different ways. In 2010, Osterwalder and Kinator published A Business Model Generation, a book in which the authors design and present the business model canvas. In particular, the authors state that a business model canvas is a shared language for describing, visualizing, accessing, and changing business models. And Osterwalder and Kinator believed that the best way to represent a business model of a company was through 9 building blocks, representing the 4 main areas of a company: the customer, the offer, infrastructure, and financial viability. The goal behind of the authors was to create a useful and strategic tool that could be used in a single image to represent the business model of a company, the logic of how a company creates, captures, and delivers value using a shared language. In particular, the 9 building blocks are customer segments, value proposition, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, key activities, key partners, and cost structure. Now, by listing them, I have followed a specific order. I have followed the order which the authors of the book follow, and which makes it easy to compile and complete, and above all, current business model canvas. Current is a very important characteristic that must characterize our business model canvas, so that it can effectively represent a strategic tool. In addition, the authors in the book and also who habitually work with this tool state that the business model canvas is made up of two parts. The right part, customer segment, value proposition, channels, customer relationship, and revenue streams, which represent the value and the creative part of business model canvas. The left one, key resources, key activities, key partner, cost structure, represents the organization of the business model canvas, the organization of the company. Now we analyze each building block in more detail, following the order suggested by the authors. So we start from customer segment. According to Balder and Teenager, customer segment building blocks defines the different groups of people, organization, and enterprise aims to reach and serve. For each building block, the authors propose key questions that can help in the definition of the block and in the block. And in this case, they suggest asking ourselves for whom are we creating value and who are our most important customers. It is important to understand what needs our customers have and that our value proposition would satisfy, or what problems of our consumer we would like to solve. We can operate in different types of markets, for example, the mass market, the niche market, segmented market, diversified market, etc. After defining the customer segment, we look at value proposition. Value proposition building blocks describes the bundle of products and services that create value for a specific customer segment. And the authors suggest answering questions such as what value do we deliver to the customer, which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve, which customer needs are we satisfying, and what bundles of products and services are we offering to each customer segment. The value proposition can be innovative or similar to existing market offer. The value proposition is innovative when we produce a product or services that is not yet on the market, and in this way we could satisfy a latent consumer demand that is not met by the market, by the supply, by the offer. Or we can produce a similar product to existing market offer, and we can add or attribute a specific value, and which would lead the consumer to choose our product or our services. In addition, the value proposition may be based on quantitative characteristics, such as offering a product at a lower price, or qualitative characteristics, such as products with a specific design or particular design. Having defined the customer segment and the value proposition, we need to understand which channels we want to use to deliver the value created to the customer. Channel building block describes how a company communicates with and reaches its customer segment to deliver a value proposition. The key questions suggested by the authors are through which channels do our customer segments want to be reached, and how are we reaching them now, or how are our channels integrated, etc. What is important is that the channels can be of two types, direct or indirect. Direct, for example, web sales, or indirect, for example, partner stores. And along the value creation and delivery phase, we can have and use different channels. At this point, we also ask ourselves what kind of relationship we want to create with our customer. The customer relationship building blocks describes the types of relationships a company establishes with specific customer segments. And the questions we could answer are: what type of relationship does each of our customer segments accept us to establish and maintain with them? Which ones have been established? Or how costly are they? The relationship we can create with our customer we can create different type of relationships, and also the author suggests some categories of customer relationships which may coexist. For example, we can create a community, or we can offer a support or personalized assistance for our customer segments. So we now close the right and creative part of the business model canvas with revenue streams, building blocks that represent the cash of a company generates from each customer segment. For these building blocks, we can ask questions such as: for what value are our customers really willing to pay, or for what do they currently pay, or how are they currently paying, etc. The authors suggested that there are several ways to generate revenue streams. For example, through the sale of products and services, or subscription fees, or leasing, lending, renting, etc. And also specify that there are two main types of pricing mechanism. Fixed menu pricing, when predefined prices are based on static variables, or dynamic pricing, when prices change based on market conditions. Revenue streams close the right part of business model canvas, and then the authors move on the left part, and in particular move to the key resources building block that describe the most important aspects required to make a business model work. Key resources can be four types: for physical resources, intellectual resources, human resources, and financial resources. Physical resources, when we are talking about, for example, buildings or machines. Intellectual resources, for example, brands or patents, and human resources, for example, a researcher or workers with particular skills, or workers in general. And financial resources, when we are talking about cash or a stock option pool for hiring key employees. To fill in these building blocks, in key resources building blocks, we can ask ourselves what key resources do our value proposition require, our distribution channels, customer relationships, and revenue streams. The key resources are needed to carry out the key activities of the company. Key activities building blocks they describe the most important things a company must do to make its business model work. And the key activities can be categorized as production, problem solving, platform, network, etc. And to fill in these building blocks, we can ask ourselves what key activities do our value proposition require, our distribution channels, customer relationships, and revenue streams. To carry out also the activities, the company needs a partner. The key partnership building blocks describes the network of suppliers and partners that make the business model work. And we can answer to some key questions, for example, who are our key partners, who are our key suppliers, which key resources are we acquiring from partners, and which key activities do partners perform. The authors identify 4 types of partnership, for example, strategic alliance between non-competitors or co-competition, strategic partnership between competitors, joint venture to develop a new business, or buyer-supplier relationships to assure reliable supplies. The company, the reason why the company create this partnership may be different. For example, because it wants to reduce the risk connected with its business, or because it wants to acquire the specific resources. Finally, we have the cost structure building blocks that describes all costs incurred to operate a business model. We can have a specific question, for example, what are the most important costs inherent in our business model, or which key resources are most expensive, or which key activities are most expensive. In particular, according to the authors, it can be useful to distinguish between 2 broad classes of business model cost structures: cost-driven and value-driven. And they also specified that many business models fall in between these 2 extremes. In particular, cost-driven business model focus on reduce costs wherever possible. This approach aims at creating and maintaining the cost structure using the low price value proposition. And value-driven business model, we are talking about value-driven business model when companies are less concerned with the cost implication of a particular business model design and focus their attention on value creation. Cost structure also can have different characteristics. For example, we can talk about fixed and variable cost, or economies of scope, or economies of scale. I hope that this quick analysis of the 9 building blocks has been useful for a first approach to the business model canvas, and it is clear how important is the coherence between the 9 blocks, so that the business model can be a strategic and intuitive tool. To conclude, to close this presentation, I think that it may be useful to show you an example of a business model canvas of a company producing microgreens. I follow the orders just by Osterwalder and Pinheiro, and I start from customer segments. The customer segment of this company are high-quality local restaurants that need fresh, local, innovative vegetables to innovate daily recipes. And so the value proposition of the company are high-quality materials with long shelf life, diversification of supply, and low price to the consumer, to the customer. The company deliver the value through trade fairs and events, in particular through trade fair and events. They communicate and with new customer segments, with new customer segments. It's always high-quality local restaurant, and also use a social network and website to communicate their value proposition and reach new customers, and Horeca specialist supplier to deliver their product to their customer, and they create a direct relationship with their customer, and also offer a continuous support to their customer, and organize regular visits to their customers. The revenue streams is characterized by sales of fresh materials, and to create this value proposition and to deliver their value proposition, the company needs building in peri-urban area high-tech plant for the production of materials, workers, and provide financing. These key resources are needed to carry out the key activities, so the indoor cultivation of materials, product research and innovation, services and support, and marketing activities. Also, in addition, the company collaborates with the university, and the company considers their suppliers as partners, suppliers of raw materials, seeds, fertilizer, and packaging, etc. And also the agronomist for technical advice, and also the chef, and also the chef to create to carry out product research and innovation. At the end, we are talking about cost and value-driven business model, and the cost, we have a fixed and variable cost related to the production of microgreens, and also the cost related to the product innovation. In this slide, I report the reference about business model generation, a book was written by Osterwalder and Pinheiro, in which the authors present the tool, and also a paper, business models, where you can find a literature review about business model concept, and I link on YouTube, in which Osterwalder explained the business model canvas in 6 minutes. And also on YouTube you can find a longer video in which Osterwalder presents the 9 blocks in detail. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. First, so I think it's really interesting because, of course, talking about urban agriculture, we have to deal with the economic parts of it, which is definitely a big issue when talking about cultivating in cities. I come from an architectural background, if you don't know, maybe other of the participants already know. So I'm interested about like how the, for example, cost of the infrastructure can be integrated in the business canvas and how these can actually influence the development of the business models.
Well, so about investment cost, yes. Well, I think that the categories of cost you can include in the cost structure in business model canvas depend on your project. So you can include two big categories, fixed cost and variable cost, because they have a different incidence on the revenue and on the cost structure of the firm. But if in your project there are huge investment costs, well, you can choose to include also this category, but you have to clarify the structure of the cost you include in the category, but you don't have to do more specifications.
Okay, I think that's
Okay.
that's very clear. It's also very interesting to understand that, because I guess maybe sometimes also students, when they develop their business canvas, they would get lost in all the categories. So I think that's pretty good advice. Thank you very much. And also, like when we do this urban agriculture project, when we develop the business canvas, is it something that we do, like, this is more like a personal question, is it something that we do like for us to understand the actual benefits of the project, or is it something that we also present to investors to explain the business core of our project? Is it?
Well, Silvia, would you like to answer?
Yes. Silvia, sorry.
No. You can.
Okay. Well, so business plan is a canvas. Is a useful tool to show your business idea to partners or to stakeholders, for example. But if you have to show your idea to hypothetical funders of your project, you have to prepare a business plan. Business plan is a more specific document in which you have also to describe, for example, the financial preview of your expenses and of your revenues. And so you have to clear to your funders the all the costs and all the investment, in this case, you have to do in your business. So business plan is a more complicated document because it asks a deep financial part. For example, you have to project a marketing plan to include in the business plan. Business model canvas is useful also for the entrepreneur, because it helps him to have a clearer idea of its business proposal. But you cannot search for fund with only a canvas.
Okay, that's also very clear, also very interesting. So basically, it's like two steps of developing a business.
Yes.
First, business canvas or business model, and then the business plan. Is there any more questions for the public now that we started the conversation? Okay, well, I guess that everything was extremely clear then, because there's no more questions. That's why.
If I can add something, I think that Canvas is very useful to discuss about an idea. So we use it also to discuss, to verify if the value proposition included in the project really can have a value for stakeholders, for the target consumers, for example, or if it's not. And so this is the real value of a canvas. And for this, I think that for the business ideas of the participants, of the candidates at your course, it's important to discuss the canvas with the partners, with the colleagues, and to challenge if the canvas is a good idea, is completed, if it's include all the details of your idea or not.
Okay, that's extremely interesting. Thank you also, because I think that seen in this light could also be a tool to assess the feasibility of a project.
Yes. Yes, well, not the financial feasibility, because you need for a more detailed document, like a business plan, for example, a more complicated document.
Sure. Okay. So I think that it could be all for today in this 8th rendezvous meeting. I really want to thank you, Silvia, for your presentation, and Professor Castellini for giving us some more tips that are really useful for the students in the challenge. And thank you all for coming. Please keep updated on our Instagram page to see when the next rendezvous is. And thank you very much to everybody. Thank you. Have a good day. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you all, and good luck to all the students. And so, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.